Most people have never once thought about how far a piston travels inside their engine. It moves up and it moves down, up and down, thousands of times every minute, and that distance it travels is called the stroke. On a typical engine, that stroke might be somewhere between 70 and 90 millimeters, and that stroke length is one of the most fundamental things that determines how an engine behaves, how much torque it makes, how high it can rev, and how much power it produces. But what happens when you cut that stroke in half? Not reduce it slightly, not trim it a little, actually cut the piston, travel in half, and build an engine around that extreme short stroke design? That is exactly what this experiment set out to find out. The engine used for this experiment is a Lada 1.5 liter, the 211083 unit. If you have spent any time around Eastern European cars or budget builds, you know this engine. It is simple, it is tough, it loves to rev when it is set up right, and it responds well to modifications. It also has a long history of being pushed to its limits by people who enjoy finding out exactly what it can and cannot take. Making it shorter stroke and more rev happy fits that tradition perfectly. The goal of this project is to reduce the piston stroke as much as physically possible while still keeping the compression ratio high enough for the engine to actually start and run, and then see what it can do on the road. Before cutting anything, the first step is to understand what the limits actually are. Compression ratio is the key number here. When you reduce the piston stroke, the piston does not travel as far up the cylinder. That means the combustion chamber volume does not get compressed as aggressively. The compression ratio drops, and if it drops too far, the air and fuel mixture inside the cylinder cannot be compressed enough to ignite properly. The engine cranks, but it will not fire, it will not run. The absolute minimum compression ratio you need for a gasoline engine to start and operate reliably is roughly 7 to 8 to 1. Go below that and you are looking at a very expensive paperweight. To figure out where the compression ratio sits on this engine with modifications, the team measures the combustion chamber volume directly. They pour liquid into the combustion chamber with a graduated syringe. The measurement comes back at 20 milliliters, and running that number through the compression ratio formula with the proposed stroke reduction gives a ratio of 8.34 to 1. That is tight. That is right at the edge of what will reliably start, but it is above the threshold, so the build can move forward. The crankshaft is where the stroke actually lives. The distance between the crankshaft centerline and the rod journal centerline is what determines how far the piston travels. To cut the stroke dramatically, you need a completely different crankshaft. This is not a bolt-on modification. The team machines a new crankshaft from scratch, repositioning the rod journals to create a dramatically shorter stroke. The crankshaft journals are precision machined, polished, and then test fitted into the engine block to verify that the main bearings seat correctly and the crank rotates freely before any further assembly takes place. Because the engine is designed to rev high, instead of relying on piston displacement for torque, the counterweights on the crankshaft are reduced. A high revving engine does not need the same counterbalance mass as a low revving torque engine. Less rotating mass means the engine can spin up faster and reach higher RPM without fighting itself. That's exactly the kind of trade-off a short stroke design needs in order to work. The connecting rods need to be modified to match the new stroke geometry. The team builds a jig from a solid chunk of metal with precision sleeves to hold the rods at the exact correct length during welding. The first attempt at measuring the rod length produces an error. The team measured the rod without accounting for the thickness of the rod bearings. That means when they assemble the engine with the bearings in place, the pistons sit higher in the bore than calculated. The pistons protrude above the deck surface by roughly the thickness of one bearing. That is a problem. If the piston sticks out above the deck and the head goes on, you get contact. Metal hitting metal at high RPM, the kind of contact that ends builds. The fix requires going back to the jig, drilling new reference holes, remeasuring with the bearing thickness accounted for, and welding the rods again at the corrected length. This kind of back and forth is normal in experimental builds. You plan as carefully as you can, and then the real world gives you a number that does not match your notebook. You fix it and you move forward. After the rods are set, the team weighs each piston and each rod individually and matches the sets by weight. Unbalanced rotating assembly components cause vibration at high RPM, and this engine is designed to live at high RPM. Balancing every piston and connecting rod individually before final assembly is not optional on any build. Like this one, the crankshaft also needs oil passages drilled to feed lubrication to the rod journals. The team drills carefully through the crank to connect the main journal oil supply to each rod journal. This is detail work that requires patience and a straight drill bit. Because a broken drill bit inside a crankshaft oiling passage is a situation that ruins the entire part. The drilling goes completely cleanly, the crank is polished one final time, and the engine is ready for assembly. Assembly goes together with the modified crank, the modified rods, and the standard Lada pistons fitted to their new shorter travel. The valve timing is set, the head goes on, the carburetor and ignition are fitted, and then comes the moment that every builder knows is the best and worst moment of any project. The first start. With a short-stroke engine assembled entirely from modified and custom components, there's genuine uncertainty about what is going to happen. The starter engages. For a moment, the engine sounds completely flat, no compression, no life, just cranking, and then it catches, it fires. It idles at a higher RPM than a stock Lada idles, but it is running. It is actually running. The sound is different from a standard engine, higher pitched, more mechanical at idle, a ringing quality at the top of the rev range that tells you immediately this engine is doing something unusual. The tachometer readings are surprising. One gauge shows the engine running past 7,000 revolutions per minute. Another measurement points toward 8,000 revolutions per minute. The stock Lada engine redlines well below that. With just 35 millimeters of piston stroke, this engine is spinning at speeds the original design never intended. The valve springs become a concern at these RPM levels. Standard springs designed for a lower revving engine may not be stiff enough to keep the valves fully controlled at these speeds. That is a future upgrade, but it is something that needs attention before pushing further. The car goes out for a road test. At very low RPM, the engine does not want to pull. That is expected. With reduced displacement and almost no torque down low, you need to rev it to get the car moving. Below 1,500 revolutions per minute, it feels lazy. Bring it up to 2,000, start feeding more throttle, and something changes. By 3,000 revolutions per minute, the car starts to move properly. Keep climbing, and the engine pulls harder the higher it spins. The wheels spin. The car accelerates, the experiment works. The piston travel was cut in half, and the engine not only starts, not only runs, but actually drives and moves the car with real acceleration at higher RPM. It needs tuning. The carburetor jetting is not optimized for this configuration. The ignition timing has not been adjusted for the compression ratio. The valve springs need upgrading for sustained high RPM use. But the core of the experiment succeeded. A modified short-stroke Lada engine is alive and driving. What comes next depends on solving those remaining problems and seeing how far the concept can actually go. The team believes there is real potential here, and honestly, they are probably right. This experiment raises a genuinely interesting question that goes beyond this single build. If a short-stroke engine makes usable power at high RPM on 35 millimeters of stroke with an untuned carb and unoptimized ignition timing, what would it do with all of those variables corrected from the start? The stock carburetor was never jetted for this compression ratio or these RPM levels, and the ignition timing was never mapped for the new stroke geometry. Even with all of those variables still wrong, the engine ran and the car drove. The current result is the floor of what this configuration can achieve, not the ceiling. Tell us in the comments below what you think the very next step should be. Should they push for higher RPM with upgraded valve springs? Should they rejet the carburetor and optimize the tune first? What would you do? Subscribe so you see every update on this engine as it develops. Share this with anyone who thinks modifying engines is just for professionals. Like this video if you want more experimental engine content like this. We will catch you in the next one.